history of our country took over. And look what happened to our country. Probably 20 million people. And you know, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
Move it there. Hold. When you're ready. On you.
Ready?
Move.
Up.
Move. Go.
Up. Hawkeye's here.
You ready?
Okay, we are watching live at a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, where former President Trump was speaking on the stage.
Okay, that was the scene just a couple of hours ago. Oh, there's Brian. Brian, you're big. That was the scene just a couple of hours ago in Butler, Pennsylvania, at a political rally, Donald Trump political rally in Pennsylvania, a state he is winning by a large margin over Joe Biden right now. Shots rang out, at least 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the president was hit just above the right ear, or on the right ear, and he is apparently okay. This was an assassination attempt. The deep state is behind it. I'm going to tell you right fucking now, this falls on the laps of Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Jill Biden, Michelle Obama, the Clintons, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Eric Swalwell. They're all guilty, all implicitly guilty in this. Even if it was a lone nut gunman, which it was not, they would still be guilty, given their rhetoric and what they have called for. Just yesterday, Joe Biden said, it's time to put Donald Trump in the crosshairs. Well, guess what they did? All right, guys, this is a special report, a special edition of Real News Live, the usual Tuesday show. Only we've added some more people to the crew. Joining me, I'm your host, Mike Bara in Las Vegas, Nevada. We're very disjointed here. This wasn't planned at all. Adding to the crew tonight, Brian Engelman, co-host of the Next Level News, not the Next Level News, the Agree to Disagree show with Blake Walley in the afternoons on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Brian, welcome. This is I'm not celebrating anything, but quickly welcome. And what are you drinking tonight? We usually do that.
Yes, sir. So I have a pattern in my life. I live here in Louisville in bourbon country, and I try not to drink a bottle unless I have a backup bottle. It's just kind of how I roll. But, you know, we were just 1 inch away from not having President Trump anymore. So let's start drinking our favorite stuff, because we don't know how much longer we have. So I'm going to do a cheers if you guys would like to join me once we do the round table here. But to the health of President Trump, our prayers go out to him. Cheers.
To the 45th and 19th president of the United States, the true president of the Republic.
There we are. So thank you for having me today, and nice to meet you, Steve. Hello.
Good to meet you.
Yes, Steve Doran, Steve Doran, the trail boss, is a regular member of the show now, a new member, but a regular member of the show. Steve has a lifelong background in Marine Special Forces, law enforcement, security. He was the number 2 guy in the security apparatus at Los Alamos National Laboratory. He's been featured on a 48 Hours documentary for his attempts to shut down a ring of corruption at Los Alamos and the U.S. government's attempts to kill him thereafter. Welcome again, trail boss, my buddy, Steve Doran, a man, one of the few, well, I'm not going to make a joke about that, but Steve Doran.
Go ahead.
No, I'm not going to make a joke about shooting tonight. I'm not.
All right.
Steve, welcome to the show. And say hello to Brian and everybody else.
Hello, Brian, and hello, audience. It's good to be here, and I'm glad I was able to make it.
Yeah, we're glad you're able to make it too. Blake Walley's going to be joining us in a few minutes. Brooks Agnew will be joining us around the bottom of the hour. That's one of the reasons we started late. So I'm going to recap everything that we know. This shooting took place just more than a couple hours ago at the rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. yes, that was Vincent Fusca. You saw over the shoulder of Donald Trump. Now, we're not going to get off into the woo-woo stuff today too far, but he is the guy that many people say resembles John F. Kennedy Jr. and was seen at Trump rallies with a woman who is basically the 20-year-old identical twin of Carolyn Bessette Kennedy. Vincent was there. I know Vincent. I have his phone number. I'm going to call him later. I don't have any information from him right now. I believe John F. Kennedy Jr. was pretending to be Vincent Fusca at some of these rallies. I don't think it's the other way around. I think Vincent is a separate guy. But yes, we saw him. The shots rang out. The president was struck in the ear. What we know is a bystander was also shot and killed, shot in the head. That is a tragedy. There are also rumors that other people were injured and the shooter was shot dead. So we're going to try to go through first of all, I'm going to tell you what I know. I have a friend who I call the mechanic, who is my best friend, second best friend. Steve, are you my best friend, or is?
I'll be your best friend, but I'll take a back seat to him today. How about that?
All right. So he is a former Army Special Forces and Secret Service agent who worked on the presidential detail for many, many years and had the personal contact numbers of at least 2 presidents. TV's Blake Walley has joined us. Hi, Blake.
Hello. How you doing?
Of 2 presidents in his private phone. So I'm going to read back what I got from him. He was obviously able to inquire. First thing he did is he called me up and he said he's fine. Called me up about 15, 20 minutes after the shooting. Okay, so according to the sources, hang on. His information was that this was a Ruger 10-22 22 caliber rifle. Steve, I believe you were right on top of it in our exchanges that you felt this was a 22. They were checking the woods in Butler for a potential second shooter. That would obviously indicate a conspiracy. A conspiracy would go right to the top. This is then would point directly at Barack Obama, the Clintons, any number of people who might want to take him out, Joe Biden. The shooter was taken down by FBI sharpshooters. They were supposed to be guarding the area. The shot took place. The shots rang out from about 300 yards away, and I believe on my Twitter, I've just posted a diagram of this so everybody can see it. Yes, here it is. Let me share it again. So this is the scene of the shooter. He was on a rooftop. President Trump was, standing right where Blake Walley is. Let's see if we can get Blake out of there. There we go. He was standing or laying down on this rooftop. He shot at the president. The side of the rally was right here. He hit him again just above the right ear, missed his temple, missed his brain by an inch, maybe 2 inches at the most. Apparently, there were reports that people saw this guy crawling up there and reported him to the FBI and the Secret Service. And whatever they did, if they did anything, it apparently was not enough. So I'm going to take that down and go back to our quarters view here. Other information. FBI was in charge of the sharpshooters for the event. The DA apparently said the shooter was on a building adjacent to the venue. That's the one we've identified. It would account for the effectiveness of a smaller caliber rifle. Just heard that they are claiming it was an AR-15. But of course, all the gun grabbers are going to say it was an AR-15 because that's the weapon they want to take away from the people of the United States. I was told it was a Ruger 10-22. I don't know much about that weapon. The district attorney is reporting the guy was a Democrat. Gee, big shock. And he said either one of those rifles is deadly at 200 to 300 yards. I assumed you're going to agree with that. And he said our team screwed the pooch on the pre-event sweep if the shooter got that close. Now, there's other details, of course. Let's go back and show a few videos again. Let me go back to the Twitter feed. There's a couple videos I think are really relevant. This is, there we are, guys. This is This is where the shooter was found.
You can see the guy there. Lá em cima, né? Aqui, ó.
And there he
You can
is.
see the guy there. I think they hit him because the guy he looks dead. Tá vendo? Lá em cima, né? Aqui, ó.
There's that one, and then there's this gentleman here.
What did you see, sir?
I heard the shots. I thought it was firecrackers to begin with. Somebody over there was screaming, he's been shot, he's been shot. So I made my way over. I said, I'm an emergency department physician. Let me help you. The guy had spun around, was jammed between the benches. He had a headshot here. There was lots of blood, and he had brain matter there. And so I got him. There's a helicopter coming in to get him. So I got people there really helpful. I got
Was
him
there only
up
one
on the
person
bench.
shot that you saw?
Then I did CPR, did chest compressions as well as I breathed for him.
One person.
I was the only one
You
that
guys,
did
we
it.
need to evacuate everybody. Honor, that's exactly where I heard him come from.
What did you see, sir?
And there was video earlier. I don't think I reposted it to Twitter. Yeah, here it is.
Figure out if you're okay, what's going on? Was he shot? Was he wounded? Then we heard him on the microphone, Shannon, saying, let me grab my shoes as they tried to take him off. So we're just trying to figure out what happened. To me,
This is
as
footage.
you're trying to figure out if you're okay, what's going on? Was he shot? Was he wounded?
This is footage of the body being removed. This is the gentleman who I think was shot in the head. And there are reports other people were injured as well. All right. So we know that those are the basic facts as we understand them at this point. We know that Trump stood up. He was defiant. He shook his fist. He said, fight, fight, fight. And there are other issues. It's really quite ridiculous that there was a little 5'3" female Secret Service agent trying to protect a man who's 6'4". Steve, I'm going to swing it to you. You're the ballistics expert. What can you tell us about this? I heard bang, 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 and then a pause, and then bang, 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 which I assume was them killing the shooter. So I think 4 or 5 shots. What do you think? What do you know?
Well, I mean, pretty much the second volley of shots was, I've been told it was the FBI. I'm not certain of that at this point. But the big problem here is that at this rally, when they do a pre-sweep, they're supposed to block all of those areas completely off and make it virtually impossible for somebody to gain access to those positions. The second thing that is very disturbing is if a sniper can see him to shoot him and kill him, the sniper could have seen him prior to him firing any shots whatsoever and taken him out immediately. So as you can see by that video, you can clearly see him on top of that roof. There's no place for him to hide.
Yeah.
So anybody who gained access to that roof, unless the Secret Service put him up there, and what I mean by that, let's say there was something that needed to be repaired and they cleared him and, put him up there for whatever reason. There is no way that guy should have gained access to that roof. Absolutely none. As far as the weapon that was used, they're saying it was a 1022. A 1022 is a Ruger brand rifle. It's considered probably one of the most durable and accurate 22 rifles on the market. I mean, it wouldn't be anyone's first choice to use as a sniper rifle, but it still would be effective. I mean, people always say, 22 is not effective. Well, go out 100 yards, stand out 100 yards in front of me, and let's see you continue with believing that. It's a very effective weapon, and it's all about shot placement. And he was trying to take a headshot on the president, and had he hit him in the head, at the very least, he would have done a tremendous amount of damage. I mean, look at the other guy that was hit. As you heard the doctor say that, there was brain matter coming out of his head. He was losing a lot of blood. So obviously that round that was used was very effective. It just wasn't effective against the president because the guy didn't get a good shot off at him.
Yeah, and also, we're now joined by Dr. Brooks Agnew, and Steve, if you can get closer to a microphone or something, I'd appreciate it. have to, but you're a little muffled and muddy. Okay. I am going to show you a couple of rifles. There's Carving Takedown, the Ruger Collector Series. I assume this is the one. This is the one that the mechanic was told was used. And they're going to, again, I don't know if that's correct or not.
That's the correct rifle.
Okay, so we don't know what the rifle is yet. They obviously, they're already trying to blame AR-15s. And I'm going to say this again before we get on to I know Brian's got stuff he wants to say, and I'm sure Brooks and Blake do also. There are people that are going to say this is a staged event. You're watching a movie. Okay, that's bullshit. This happened today. It should not have happened. We've had that now from both the mechanic and Steve Doran, two experts in guns and munitions and military operations and people who I absolutely trust. This should not have happened. I believe this means this guy was allowed in to take a pot shot at the president and failed. Probably a DEI hire. I'm not in the mood for anyone tonight, but as I understand this situation, this could not have happened. I will tell you also, this is the 5th assassination attempt against Donald Trump that I know of. I know of 4 others that took place during his presidency. I've outlined them before. Maybe on next Tuesday's show, I will review them now that we have a 5th public one to add to it. This is the only public one. So, Brian, I want to swing it over to you and get your impressions. I think it's a miracle the president is still alive. I think, again, don't listen to anybody who tells you this was staged. This was not staged. This was a live event that took place today, and it is a fucking miracle that Donald Trump is still alive. Brian, what are your thoughts? Thanks and welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, last time we talked was January 7th in the aftermath. I remember Blake and I sitting in the hotel room in Washington, D.C., trying to make sense of what happened. My eyes were still stinging from tear gas the day before. But about a month ago, I went out for the New American Media to the Bronx. And that was the event where President Trump went to an area that Republicans normally don't campaign. And I distinctly remember all of the times I was looking around. I was doing interviews with Real America's Voice, on with Posobiec, and putting content on with Bannon. That was right before Bannon got arrested, of course. And, I distinctly remember looking around. Everybody was having a great time, but you couldn't escape the feeling of, okay, who are the people congregating in the fringes of this park? Like, I was kind of spun with my back to where Trump and the crowd was at many times, just looking for things that seemed out of place. I don't have any military or law enforcement experience, but I know in certain events you might want to keep your head on a swivel. But it was like the next day we went from the Bronx over to DC. I went with Blake, and we were there for the Libertarian Convention. And at that Libertarian Convention, RFK Jr. was there giving a speech. Vivek was there, and of course, Donald Trump gave a speech. And we had to vacate the entire room. The Secret Service did an entire sweep. I think it was a 2-hour block. They kicked everybody out. They scanned all the equipment, all the doors, all the access points. Then we had to come back in and get searched again. So, that was my most recent experience with Secret Service for filming a President Trump speech in front of the Libertarian Convention. So I just, the fact that someone was able to get up on this rooftop, it's astonishing to me. I remember when John Kerry came to my college town in Bowling Green, Ohio, when he was running for president, and they shut the whole downtown area off, and they had snipers at the tops of every building in the city center there. And it's just, it doesn't make sense that somebody would be allowed to get into the position that they were allegedly taken out from. And I found this video here. I was trying to pull it up. I don't see it on the screen.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have that, Mike, but this is the guy who was interviewed, and he tells you exactly what happened, what he saw, the guy getting into the position, him calling out to Secret Service.
Is it this video, Brian? Is it this guy?
Yes, sir, it is. If you want to play a little bit of this.
I just happened to find that myself. Let's play that.
Okay. Where are we at? Where are we? Okay, here we go. That should be going. You getting the volume here? us
Hang on.
the Brinkles Farming Greenhouse here. We had a party, and we all decided, hey, you know, when we hear Trump up there, we're going to walk up through the field, stand by the trees up there under the shade, and watch and listen to the rally. Right? We couldn't see him, but we could hear him. So we walked up, and probably 5 to 7 minutes of Trump speaking. I'm estimating here. I have no idea, you know, but we noticed a guy crawling, bear crawling up the roof of the building beside us, 50 feet away from us. So we're standing there, and, you know, we're pointing at the guy crawling up the roof.
And he had a gun, right?
He had a rifle. We could clearly see him with a rifle. Absolutely. We're pointing at him. The police are down there running around on the ground. We're like, hey, man, there's a guy on the roof with a rifle. And the police were like, huh, what? You know, like they didn't know what was going on. You know, we're like, hey, right here on the roof. We can see him from right here. We see him. You know, he's crawling. And next thing you know, I'm thinking to myself, like, why is Trump still speaking? Why have they not pulled him off the stage? I'm standing there pointing at him for, 2-3 minutes. Secret Service is looking at us from the top of the barn. I'm pointing at that roof, just standing there like this. And next thing you know, 5 shots rang out.
So you're certain that the shots came from that guy on the roof?
100%.
And he was up there for a couple of minutes?
He was there.
Up there for a couple of minutes?
Absolutely. At least 3 to 4 minutes.
And you were telling the police and the Secret Service?
We were telling the police service who were looking at us from the top of the barn. They were looking at us the whole time when we were standing by that tree.
Could they see
binoculars?
Could they see him?
Probably not, because the roof, the way the slope went, he was behind where they could see. But why is there not Secret Service on all of these roofs here?
Exactly.
I mean, this is not a big place.
Did you see, obviously everyone, when the shooting started, everyone was very...
Anyway, this guy goes on. It's very valuable. Please check it out. I think we sent it out at American_media_ on X. But
okay.
Yeah, I mean, this guy's clearly saying we saw it, we're calling it out, we're pointing it, and nobody's doing anything about it. So it's just, this isn't adding up. Every time there's something elevated when you're near a place where a president is speaking, those areas are secured, they're locked down, and they do the advanced scouting on that stuff weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks in advance. They send their advanced teams out there way before the event. Of course, they're not going to leave a roof unattended unless they set them up on purpose. That's how I read it. Based on when I was bartending and playing in the bars in Bowling Green when Kerry came through, I knew from the management that they were in there. They shut their building down. They searched all of these private businesses weeks before he even came into town. So they're at least going to take care of the roof over there. There's no way this slipped through the cracks. This was intentional and it was allowed. If I'm making a snap judgment, which you're not supposed to do, you're supposed to give it 72 hours. I get that. But like, if I'm just making a guess, my guess is, this was either intentional or the sloppiest thing you've ever seen.
Yeah, Steve, is that SOP? I mean, if you get a report on the roof, they got to go after him, right? They didn't go after him.
I mean, you wouldn't, in any normal situation, the Secret Service isn't the only agency that provides protection to the president. They use their local Secret Service to come out they send a guy from D.C., he comes out, it's a forward team, and he meets with the local Secret Service agents in the area where the president's going to be speaking. They go over the place with a fine-tooth comb. They weld all the manhole covers shut. They put their own locks and seals on all the doors. If there's any ladders that go up or any ladders in the area, they secure those. They remove them. They use Constantine wire, whatever they've got to do. It's a long, drawn-out process. They have locals that they use. Like when I was a deputy sheriff, when I first started my career, I was on a couple of presidential details, and a detail for the Pope at that time. And, they put people in strategic areas like that so that no one can get up on the roof. So even if it wasn't the Secret Service, they would go to the local jurisdiction, state police, whoever, and they'd say, look, we need some guys to patrol around here. Nobody's allowed in this area. We've got it secured. They show you all the things that they did to keep people out of that particular area or off a roof type of deal. And so you've got plenty of manpower, typically, right, that are watching the area to make sure that doesn't happen. And the fact that he's pointing out a guy on the roof to a police officer who obviously would have a radio, and that officer isn't immediately radioing in and saying, hey, we got a guy on the roof, we don't know who he is, we don't know what he's up to. They should have immediately, then the Secret Service would get that transmission, they would get the president off the stage at once, or at the very least, cover him. And none of that transpired, which again, you can say that it was intentional, but you can also say that it was, I don't know why I'm drawing a blank right now.
Well, not only that, but somebody else pointed out, why would you keep him on the stage?
Right, exactly. But what I'm saying is once you see a threat, you instantaneously radio it in. You don't wait.
Yeah.
Because even if you're wrong, it doesn't matter, because they may radio back and say, hey, we had, it's a guy from the electric company, we've cleared him, we let him go up there because we had a transformer blow up, or whatever the case may be.
Right.
You don't sit there and have a conversation with somebody. The second they point it out, the second they show you what's going on, you instantaneously radio in and you respond. And I don't believe the police are that inept.
Yeah, and here's the thing, too, is they had to go for the headshot because Trump wears body armor, and that MAGA hat is steel reinforced as well. People don't know that, but that is also true. And I have that information from the mechanics. So they allowed a guy to get within reasonable range with a type of caliber weapon that could kill a man with the rifle that he had. And that's just completely inexcusable. Okay, I want to bring in the other two members of the team real quick here. TV's Blake Walley, you were first, so you get to go first. What are your thoughts? What are your feelings? I know you've missed a lot of the forensic and ballistic details, but go ahead and tell us what you think and what you know.
Well, yeah, I'm learning a lot of it from you guys in real time here. I've been trying to catch up with this because it's all breaking information, and it's crazy that it's great that we've had this information. Thank you guys for having that info. From what I can tell, it does look like this was allowed to happen, and it's amazing to have a witness there. It kind of thinks of like JFK. There's probably people at the grassy knoll trying to have these interviews and say something. Back in those days, that guy probably would have tried to report it and then had a car accident. So it sounds like it's being exposed, and it was allowed to happen so far that I can tell, but nobody rushed to judgment. But we were like a half inch away from a civil war in this country, and just thankfully divine intervention or whatever it was, it didn't happen.
Well, I think it's ready to start anyway. Myself, yeah. I'm ready.
I have one other point that I keep forgetting to make. If I may
Steve.
Make it real quickly.
Go ahead.
Well, the Secret Service agent, they had that short female that was in front of him, which is where they suspected the shots were coming from. That totally, to leave him wide open. If you look at her, she's got her head down like she's expecting another shot from another direction to give the shooter a clear shot at the president. She's supposed to stand up straight. They're supposed to assign Secret Service agents that can completely block him with their bodies. Completely.
Yeah, isn't she supposed to?
Why do you assign a 5'3" woman?
Yeah, what the fuck is she doing there? Another DEI hire. This is completely wrong. This is why women should not be on the presidential detail ever. And yeah, his whole upper torso was exposed. If there had been a second shooter in the woods, which the mechanic tells me they were looking for, he might have been shot a second time when they got him up on the stage. Now, Steve, I want to ask you one other quick question about this.
Hey, Mike, if it's all right, I have a 20-second clip pulled up that was connected to what you guys were just talking about.
Okay, all right.
If I could play this real quick. This is Bongino, who obviously worked as Secret Service, and his reaction to what was happening here.
Secret Service Director is utterly unqualified right now to be doing what she's doing. It is time for her first to get this thing solved. It's an emergency situation right now, and find out what happened. But she should step down immediately. Some of the things she has told people on that detail about security arrangements, clearly making political.
And while he was giving that speech, his feed was cut off and it went to commercial, according to this post. So, yeah, I mean, how they allowed this situation from the short little girl there to physically try to block the large, tall President Trump, to how you didn't clear the rooftop to, I mean, the Secret Service director needs to be investigated or immediately jailed under suspicion of assassination attempt.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Now, Steve, I want to ask you one other question, Steve. Should they have gotten him out of there immediately rather than bring him back up on the stage where he's exposed, or should they have rolled him under the stage or something, or just covered him?
Well, typically they keep him covered until they know that everything's clear. At the very least, they would have literally low crawled across the stage, not literally on their bellies, but you know what I mean, like drug him across, kept him low.
Yeah.
There's no reason to stand up on the stage after you've already been shot at. People have been killed and injured, and you're going to stand up and expose him to somebody who could, at this point, be inside, because that's the other thing. A lot of times the shooter is a distraction to get somebody on the inside to get closer in to shoot again.
Yep. Okay, Brooks, you got here a little late. Go ahead. Say your piece, buddy.
Well, I was on the road kind of trying to do research while I was in the truck. Trump was actually hit twice. He was hit once in the right ear, and he was hit once right here under the right armpit. You could see the bullet hole in his jacket. There are a lot of blow-ups of it. I think the shooter did try to shoot him in the chest, which is a typical sniper move, but it didn't have any effect. The body armor on Trump protected him, and then he looked up. The second round went right by his ear. Like, we're 1 inch away from Kennedy, from a coup, just like that. And the thought that this guy could take a position, a high position, 400 feet from that stage. Now, I'm not a marksman, but from 400 feet, I can drive nails with a rifle, especially with a scope. If this thing was a rifle with a scope, there's no reason in the world for him to have missed, unless he was under fire himself. The question is, how did this guy ever get on that position that close to the stage? There is no possible way unless it was an inside job.
Yeah, we've gone. We've covered that, and we agree with you on that. I'm going to tell you that my guy, the mechanic who used to work presidential security, Secret Service detail, said Trump was only hit the one time, that there was not a second shot. Now, it's possible that when he got that report, in fact, President Trump was not hit, but that it went through the coat and didn't hit him. So that, I guess it's possible that you're both right, but we won't know that for a few days. Right now,
by the way, on Monday, Biden was recorded in a private donor call where he said it's time to put Trump in the bullseye.
That's exactly what he said. So, all right, Steve, any further comments about what you just heard? You're our expert here.
Well, I mean, there again, as we discussed earlier, at 400 feet, any caliber is going to be effective. That's what I said. Early on, it's like people say, oh, 22 is not effective. Oh, it most certainly is. More people are killed in this country with 22s than any other caliber that's manufactured.
Yeah, there's the what looks like a hole in the suit. We don't know if it struck the president. They at the time when I got the reports, it was about 30, 35, 40 minutes after the incident. He was probably at the hospital. They may not have even looked at his clothes yet, so we don't know. But see that? Can you guys see that? It's hard because I can't get it any bigger than that. Here, let me get a further.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, there it is.
Is that a hole or is that a shadow of a pocket? Maybe.
Looks like a hole.
Looks like a hole to me.
Wow. Okay, so we don't know. Maybe that's something else we're going to find out in the next couple of days. Blake, any opinion?
We all know. We all know they're gonna beat this thing to death, and we're gonna know all kinds of stuff come tomorrow.
Well, so the thing is, gentlemen,
I promise you, this guy was known by the FBI. He was followed by the FBI. They're gonna have a file on this guy.
He is a Democrat. We have established that. Can we stop at the comments for a while? Whoever's doing that. Thanks, Brian. Because I want to get the pictures a little bit bigger. All right. Here's the thing. When we came into this, I was like, okay, this is a deep state hit. fuck Barack Obama, fuck the Clintons. Let's go French Revolution on every single one of them. But I'm even more reinforced on that after listening to all you guys talk, because it appears, are we in agreement that this guy should not have been up there if everybody was doing their job? In fact, are we in agreement that it had to be an inside job? They had to basically let him up there, especially given the fact that when he was spotted by people, attendees, they didn't do anything about it for 5 minutes. So we agree on that. Steve, I'm going to start with you.
Okay, I'm sorry. I need you to repeat that. You were broken.
Do we agree that this was a setup and that there were people assigned to guard the president that were in on it?
I'm going to say at this juncture that, I'm not going to give an answer at this point because I don't have enough information. I don't want to take the situation and try to make the evidence fit. Do I think that it's going in that direction at this point? Absolutely. But do I have a definitive yes? No, I do not.
Okay, Brooks, let's go to you next.
Always assassinate the assassin. It's an inside job.
Yep. Just like Lee Harvey Oswald killed J.D. Tippit, and then Jack Ruby killed Lee Harvey Oswald, and they all met just conveniently at Jack Ruby's strip club 7 days before the assassination. TV's Mike Walley, what do you think about that question?
Absolutely. They found their useful idiot Patsy to pull it off, and there was a security. I wouldn't even call it a security failure at this point, especially if they're pointing the guy out and nobody's doing anything. That should have been immediately happened. This whole event should have never happened.
Yeah, and as Maxwell Smart would have said back in the 60s, missed it by that much. Brian, what do you think? Are you in on this being an inside job, an attempt by the people who are supposed to be guarding the president not to guard him properly?
Well, I'll just say that was a great reference. Missed him by that much. Great reference. I just want to think back to Trump versus the United States, that recent opinion that said presidents have broad immunity from criminal prosecution, essentially a license to commit crimes as long as they use the official powers of their office to do so. You remember when that came down and the instant call from the wacky left, the dangerous, demonic, diabolical left? They came out and said, oh, so we can assassinate Trump now. Remember that came out, a week ago, 2 weeks ago?
Yes.
Oh, yep, so we can assassinate Trump now, and this happens almost immediately after. Very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the ruling was more along the lines of if the president does it under his official powers, it's not a crime, as opposed to you can commit crimes and the president can commit any crime. So I think that there's a distinction there on that one. But yeah, all right. Brooks, I know Brooks, you got to go because you got to go on your show. Anybody else have anything they want to add to this at this point? It's sus. Brooks, anything you want to add before you take off?
Well, you could just ask Steve Scalise what a whack job can do with a list in his pocket and a gun.
All right. Blake, do we think, let's go to this one. Do we think this was a lone nut whack job motivated by all the violent rhetoric of the far left, including the media, or do we think this was an organized murder attempt, assassination coup attempt by the deep state? Brooks?
It was definitely organized. I don't know who organized it, if it was the deep state or if it was Joe Biden, Virtual Joe and his gang of criminals, but it was definitely planned, and somehow they got past the shielding. Somehow they checked that building, and then after they checked it, they allowed this guy snuck up there and got in position.
Okay, I guess we already asked, Blake and Brian the same question. So I'm going to say, yeah, this is a definite inside job. All right. I'm going to leave you. Thanks, guys, for being on. This is a quick show, but we'll get into more detail on Tuesday. But I've been waiting for something like this, not just because I know there's 4 other assassination attempts, which I will try to outline on Tuesday, assuming we aren't overtaken by more events by Tuesday. But there's been this talk about a scare event. There's been this talk about a dick punch by Juan O'Savin and other clowns. And the dick punch was said to be that the Donald Trump will appear to be mortally wounded, but will recover and survive and become an even bigger, more charismatic leader. And this was a characterization put out by the left to try to cast Trump as the Antichrist, because that is what is supposed to, in the biblical times, happen to the Antichrist. He gets wounded in the head and miraculously recovers and becomes the Antichrist. So I remember reading that on like a Q post type board 4 or 5 years ago, probably less than 4 years ago. Does anybody think that this is a event that goes beyond the practical and into the supernatural? Brian, I'll start with you, and then Steve. What do you think?
I mean, I love the topics about supernatural. I mean, supernatural is God. It's divine intervention. A lot of the comments when we're trying, I mean, we got the Brady Bunch vision right now with all of the people on screen. So, but yeah, the comments I was pulling up there, I mean, a lot of people were saying divine intervention protected Trump today. It was angels' wings. That, I mean, it missed him by that much. It just reminds you of Reagan when he's at he's given the speech after he survives his assassination attempt. The big balloon goes off and he just instinctively missed me. So I think there is absolutely a supernatural, spiritual, heavenly / demonic thing going on. I think it's clear the Democrats represent the demonic side of things, and there's a lot of rhinos that are on the dark side as well who have been in sheep's clothing, picking people. So yeah, I think this is all the battle between good and evil, and I think they declared war today, and we are in war unlike we have ever been in our lifetime. We're in war right now. They just took a shot at the president, the soon-to-be president, three months and counting, whatever the numbers of days are. We are in war, and they started it. So act accordingly, gentlemen.
Yep. Blake, we have the Q post. I know you're not necessarily big into Q, but the Q post said the whole thing starts with the shot heard around the world. Is this the shot heard around the world? I think it is.
Oh my God.
I got friends in Australia, heard about it right away. They're, she's signaling me right away. What do you think, Blake?
Remember, we said about 4 weeks ago on Toxically Masculine Tuesday, you asked me to make a prediction, and I said, I just have a feeling there's going to be a public assassination attempt.
You did say that. That was 3 weeks ago, and you were dead on and proven right today, which is another reason why you should watch all of our shows. Blake, go ahead and finish your thought.
Well, I certainly think it was a supernatural event. Now, whether it's the Antichrist, I guess then we're screwed either way, because we cannot have the deep state in there. And this was a desperate attempt to take out their biggest political opposition right in front of the Republican National Convention this week. So they're terrified of him. I guess we could have expected something like this to happen, but this was a new level. He's got to be able to trust his security, and somehow it seems they set him up to fail. So it's getting serious now. It's
Brooks. Brooks. Any thoughts of this heading to the supernatural? Was this the shot heard around the world that Q's talked about?
Well, yeah, I definitely think that that we're dealing with demons, with powers and principalities. These people have ruled the world for 5,000 years. And they lost control of their world in 2016, and they wanted it back. They went to war with Trump the instant he made his inaugural address. And tonight they tried to take him out.
Yep, and they missed. If you try to kill the king, you
come
better
at the
get
king.
Otherwise you get boiled alive. Steve, I know you're not a particularly spiritual guy, but I think there's a little bit in there. Is this the shot heard around the world that Q talked about? Is this something supernatural? Is this God's grace? What do you think this is all about tonight? Yes,
well, I mean, I totally believe that it's God's grace. I mean, none of us are getting out of here alive, but none of us are getting out of here 1 minute too soon. So in my mind, it wasn't Trump's time to go, and the Lord deflected the bullets away from anything that would cause him harm as far as him being the Antichrist. I have been studying biblical prophecy for years, and he does not meet the criteria for that individual. So that's out. But as far as God's intervention, I truly believe that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, if the Antichrist wasn't Hitler or Stalin, who the hell was he? All right, I'm going to leave you. We have a guest over here, Elizabeth Light Tarot, who I've heard of before. Elizabeth, I don't know if you've been in here before, but she talks about astrology. Now, I wrote a book called The Choice where I talk about physics and astrology are actually connected, and they actually make sense in a certain way. But she says, right now, there's a rare conjunction of Mars, Uranus, and Algol, the demon star that signals losing your head. Very violent transit. They missed. It's exact on Monday, so there may be more coming and soon. Okay, and I'm going to go back to what Jennifer Faladorian said. She said, Biden leaves Monday.
Oh, wow.
I hope, and I'm pretty sure this is going to springboard back because there are too many questions. Hopefully people will start asking those questions that have a bigger audience than we do. How the fuck did this happen?
Right.
And the answers are going to point right back to Barack Obama and Joe Biden, Kamala Harris and Eric Swalwell and Nancy Pelosi and a bunch of other people who are complicit in the other assassination attempts on Donald Trump. That's what I think is going to happen. So
you saw Hillary Clinton's tweet, right? Said, what? He missed?
Wow.
Say hi to Shishi for me, Liz. I appreciate that. I'll see Shishi. I think she's coming to Vegas for the UFO event in October. So, yeah. Okay, now I remember who you are. So, that's going to wrap it up unless anybody has anything else they want to say about it. I mean, I think we've covered everything there is to cover right now in terms of the information that we have.
Way better than Fox News did.
Yeah, way the fuck better. All right, guys, that's going to do it.
I think one last thought that I have. Blake and I
Sure.
are heading out to Milwaukee to be there at the Republican convention this week. How big a target for a dirty bomb has Milwaukee just become?
Yeah, exactly.
Would you even do the RNC, seeing where they're at? They are completely
Great
desperate,
question.
and they are flailing right now, and they're getting violent, reckless, stupid, just like it as is their MO. These people are out of control. They have lost their power, and when you trap an animal in the corner and you catch them, man, they lash out with everything they have. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in Milwaukee this week. So
yeah, that's why I think
this
this boomerang's back on them. I really hope, pray, and believe that that's going to be the case. And you guys are going to be eyewitnesses to the Sermon on the Mount for 2024. So it may be as big a changer for humanity, a game changer for humanity as that was. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up. I'll be back with Jen on Monday, unless more shit happens, in which case I'll try to pull everybody back together. Thanks for being here. Thanks to Brian Engelman. Thanks to Steve Doran, the Trail Boss. Thanks to Dr. Brooks Agnew. Thanks to TV's Blake Walley. Wow, this is 2 times in 2 weeks we've had to do this special show.
Yeah.
You know
Things
why?
are getting-
You know
things are
why?
getting interesting.
Why?
Because we're toxically masculine.
That's
That's
right.
why.
Love you guys.